Hey y'all, it's the doctor here. Before we get started with the podcast, we wanted to take a quick second to let you all know about our new course that's coming out in mid-December. It's designed to help you take back your time and slay your day. We call it Time Mastery with Science. And because it's a beta launch, we are offering a ridiculously low pre-launch special of 77% off. Yeah, no need to rewind. I said 77% off. We want as many people as possible to take advantage of this opportunity. So if you're having difficulty managing your schedule, want to master your mindset, increase productivity, get better at dealing with distractions, and take back control of your day, you need to take this course. The link is in the show notes, or head on over to our website at jbandthedoctor.com. And now, on to the show.
Welcome to Mastery with Science, home to mad scientists, rogue entrepreneurs, and the coaches with the mostest, featuring JB and the doctor. Join us in our lab where we mix the old recipes with new formulas and our secret sauce to create incomparable, next-level proven results for you. We call this Mastery with Science. So, slap on your gloves and put on your goggles because JB and the doctor are in the lab.
It's alive!
Welcome to Mastery with Science, featuring JB and the doctor. I'm the doctor, and I am here to introduce today's guest. Joining us inside the lab, we have Jessica Mantell. Jessica is a certified nutritionist with her master's degree in nutrition and the owner of NextGeneration Nutrition. Jessica likes working with people of all ages, specializing with those that are suffering from chronic illness, GI disorders, and just those that are looking to improve their health and prevent future diseases. Much like us, Jessica believes that one size does not fit all. So she personalizes her nutrition plan specific to the person, their goals, and takes into account their lifestyle and personal habit. We are so excited to welcome Jessica inside the lab today, but before we do, we just want to remind everyone about our Facebook community group. This is the absolute best place to interact with us. And guess what? Our podcast guests, just like Jessica, they are also members of the group. So if you have a question for them, you can ask it right there and get feedback. Not only do you find our podcast guests there, but JB and myself, we're there hanging out all the time, looking to answer your questions. So, what are you waiting for? Go on over to Facebook, JB and the Doctor, Mastering with Science, Community Group. Join and ask away. We look forward to hearing from you. And now, on to the show.
Welcome back to Mastery with Science in the lab. I'm JB.
I'm the doctor.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We are so excited. We've got our special guest of the day, Ms. Jessica Mantell. Jess, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
We are so excited. I was saying to Jess before we got started, you're our first guest that's really focused on nutrition and that side of the health and wellness aspect of results and personal improvement. And we really couldn't be happier to have you as our first guest to talk about this. I'd love to know how you actually got into that. What drove you to really start out in a career in nutrition and start your own business?
So it was actually a really long journey. I knew I was interested in health, and I was studying psychology. My dad was a doctor. I was kind of focused on going to med school. And I went to University of Miami. I ended up taking a class in nutrition, and I was just so fascinated. And actually at the time I was going through my own health journey. And nutrition just played such a huge role in my recovery. And I just wanted to make sure that nobody else had to go through that guessing like I did. I played around with nutrition, and I found it was just so powerful than any of the medications that the doctors were giving me that just had horrible side effects. I've heard a lot of others that go through the same thing. And I guess I just think that everyone can benefit from learning a little bit more about nutrition. So I ended up taking these classes. I went on and got my master's degree in nutrition. And then I started working for, I had a couple of jobs before, but it wasn't really, they were in nutrition, but it wasn't really what I loved. I was working with athletics. I was working in endocrinology. I was also working, with weight loss nutrition. And I honestly just felt like everything was so cookie cutter, not really based on, a lot of it's not really based on real scientific evidence. I just feel like nutrition, and we know nutrition now is personalized, and not everybody is going to react the same, and not everybody should be given the same plan, the same calorie, the same amount of calories, the same macros. I really just wanted nutrition to be a lifestyle and not something that was intimidating or, I guess, intimidating or restrictive, or doesn't let you enjoy food that you love. I want nutrition to be fun. And I just wanted to, when I created Next Generation Nutrition, it was basically all about that, all about creating a 65-day lifestyle, and helping people, deal with their, heal from chronic diseases, prevent chronic diseases. Preventative nutrition is very important. And also work on their relationship with food. So that's pretty much how I got into that. I guess a lot of practitioners go into it later in life. I'm still very young, and I just really wanted to jump into it and do what I love and get started as soon as possible.
You brought up a few things I absolutely love to hear. You talked about being preventative. To me, you say preventative, I hear strategic, I hear planning, I hear looking forward and avoiding. And mitigating. To me, that's just such a big thing in everything that we do. I love, Jess, that you started this up based on your own journey. And I think for all our listeners out there that are sitting back and thinking to themselves, oh, I'm dealing with this, or I've got that going on in my life. Really, your journey, it sounds like, was based on, I had something happen and come up personally, and I had to figure it out, and I had to figure it out on my own. And while you love doing that, there's a lot of trial and error associated with that. I imagine a lot of time. And,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
so for our listeners, I know if you're sitting in that space, Next Generation Nutrition is really designed, as you said, to help people overcome that challenge. So if you're in a position where you feel the need for nutrition, or you've got something going on where you're trying to get healthier or be preventative, you've really done all the work to help create something personalized for people after you consult with them. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's plan. The first session, when I meet with somebody one-on-one, it's really focused on just getting to know not only the health history, about their nutrition and their illnesses or whatever they're dealing with and their goals, but I take the time to really get to know the person, because with personalized nutrition, yes, we need to be specific, especially if we're dealing with some sort of disease. However, I can't implement healthy habits in someone's lifestyle if it just doesn't work. Like, for example, if you're not a morning person, I'm not going to tell you that you have to go for a walk or a run at 6 a.m. in the morning, because that's just an example of a habit that's just not going to stick. So the goal is really to get to know this person, create a plan that's going to actually work. For somebody that loves cooking, they might want really intricate recipes and those sort of services. And somebody who has no time and they're busy working and they don't have time to cook, they might want, a meal delivery service or like a meal prep sort of guide. So it's really about just learning like what the person needs and personalizing it to them.
Doc, she mentioned a couple of things there that kind of prickled the back of my neck a little bit. You said the word habits a few times, Jessica, and I love that you said healthy habits, because from my perspective, I hate the word habits by itself, because habits can definitely be unhealthy. There's no doubt about it. So I usually use the language routine, creating routines, because routines are neither good nor bad. They're just a process you work people through. But healthy habits, so important. I want to take the opportunity to loop Doc in here for a moment. Doc, when it comes to mental health and physical health, can you really separate them? I mean, in your opinion?
They're definitely connected, right? So we're learning a lot more, and I hope Jessica will talk a little bit on this about the the gut brain connection that we're seeing more and more science. So some of the favorite things I've heard Jessica say already, evidence based. We love science. We love things that are replicable and be able to practice and try and make sure that they work. We're not just kind of guessing out of nowhere. So those, right away, an important keyword for me and the listeners that know what I like. To also go back on the individualization, big part of what we speak about here is that not everyone is created equal, and it has to be very specific to their needs. Much like what we do with our courses and our coaching. There's also another great connection on why Jessica is our first nutrition guest, because she thinks in the same way that we do in that world. But yeah, mental health is really, really connected to what you're doing, and food, energy, all that's related. Big part of things with depression and anxiety is usually the way you're feeling, and what you put into your body plays a big role into that, and it's very under discussed at this time.
Yeah, so I just want to add to that. The gut brain connection is huge. Like the doctor said, we know that we have the vagus nerve, which literally connects our brain to our gut. And when you're feeling like butterflies in your stomach, or if you're feeling, a little nauseous, if you have anxiety, that's just a direct connection. That's your brain telling your gut what you're feeling. And I mean, there's so much, we already know that at first it was 70%. Now we know that 90% of serotonin is produced in the gut. And that's our happy hormone. So what we eat plays a huge role in how we feel. We know that a diet full of processed carbohydrates and sugar and alcohol have such a negative response on the gut and the gut microbiome, which I want to introduce the gut microbiome quickly for those who don't know what that is. The gut microbiome is it's a huge new area in nutrition. It's those little bugs, it's the bacteria that inhabit our gut and our digestive tract. There are, a lot of there's good and there's bad bacteria. We don't know everything about them. It's just such a growing area, but we know that what we want is a lot of good and diverse microbiome, or good and diverse bugs inhabiting our microbiome, and less of the potentially bad bugs and pathogens like that. So even like even eating processed foods, for example, or foods that aren't so good for our health, can actually kill that that good bacteria, and also grow the bad bacteria. So I just wanted to introduce that quickly for those who don't know what it is. But we know that a lot of those bugs help synthesize our serotonin, our dopamine, our norepinephrine and epinephrine, and those are our hormones that causes us to feel. So that connection is it's huge, and we know it's there. We know that there's some strains of bad bacteria that can cause depression.
We can see that in so many different ways. And what people probably are most familiar with is mood eating, right? That the feeling that, oh, I just need a piece of chocolate, or I'm going, I've had a bad day, I want to just go eat a big greasy burger. Those are signals that we've trained our brain from our stomach, basically, because it is a certain feeling. But we're basing it off of our predetermined knowledge, our predetermined behaviors that we've grown up with. So that doesn't necessarily mean that those are the best ways. Those are just ways we've conditioned ourselves. And what I'm hearing Jessica say, it's important to learn specifically for you what kind of foods do what for your body, because just because we've known it's chocolate in the past, that doesn't mean that's actually the best for what we're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And we know these changes happen on a cellular level, but it is important to understand that eating is very emotional. And it's, a lot of people deal with, they struggle with their relationship with food. And it could be from their childhood. It could be somebody, a parent telling them what to eat, something like that. They could, struggle internally, but a lot of these struggles come out in the form of food, and it could be disorders like binge eating, and even just, having negative thoughts, and that leads to eating such and such, like a craving. And then it's also important to understand, like you said, these foods can be highly addictive, and really poor for our health. So we could be, part of it is not even our fault, because the food industry is putting so many chemicals and so many addictive substances in our food that sometimes we don't even realize it, but we're just highly addicted to certain foods.
Yeah, try to go to the grocery store and find something without sugar in it. How many breads can you buy that don't have sugar? It's a surprisingly small amount.
Yeah, and actually one of the services that I offer, and one of the specials that I'm going to give away today, I actually take people through the grocery store, and it's called a grocery store tour. And I basically show people how to interpret a food ingredient list, because the goal is, a lot of times with diets, they don't necessarily, like, I guess, fad diets, they don't necessarily give you the tools that you need to succeed past the diet, because a diet implies that at one point it'll be over. So I like to give people those tools, like being able to read an ingredient list, being able to know which things to avoid, or, what's not going to be good for them. And that grocery store tour, it's really awesome. It's actually my favorite thing to do with my clients. And I think it's their favorite activity as well, because it's one thing if we're talking about it one-on-one in the office, but when it comes time for them to go to the store, we want to make sure that they're actually picking the right things. And you're right, JB, it's crazy how many breads, healthy foods like yogurt and peanut butter and those sort of things that just contain like nasty ingredients that we don't want in our body.
I'm going to put you on the spot. Here in South Florida, at least, what's your favorite grocery store?
Well, it depends. My usual is Whole Foods. However, I do get some things at Trader Joe's, because I think Trader Joe's has really good quality organic produce at a great price. But I would have to stick with Whole Foods, because I think they have everything, and they have I like a lot of health brands, and they tend to have everything that I'm looking for. But with these grocery store tours, I go to the store that the person that the client shops at, because if I take them to Whole Foods and they don't go there, it just doesn't make any sense.
That's awesome.
I'm going to make a quick note here to contact Whole Foods and Trader Joe's for some sponsorship for this episode.
Right. I was going to call that out. I think they owe us a little something, by the way. Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, I actually, on my Instagram, every week when I go grocery shopping, I take a picture of like a million products, and I'm like, I like this one because of this, or don't choose this because of this. And one day they're going to find me recording in the aisles and kick me out. But I think that's, what people really like to see on or from the feedback that I got, that's what I think people like to see on social media, because, that picking out food is so much harder. It takes a lot of knowledge to be able to interpret everything on the ingredient list. It seems like the list is just getting harder and harder.
I take that second to do a quick plug also for Jessica's Instagram, which we're going to do at the end also, but I like timing and I like cheap plugs. And her Instagram is at NextGeneration Nutrition _. And if you can't find her, you can always go to JB and the Doctor on Instagram, and we are connected on there too. Post in the show notes.
That's right.
Cheap plug.
Jess, I think it's so cool. And I'm gonna bring it back a few minutes ago. You said something, and so I've got a doctor here and I've got a nutritionist here, and then I'm just like this regular everyday entrepreneur guy. And you're sitting here saying, and this is how I can always key in when somebody's an expert at what they do and really, really good at what they do, because you're sitting here and you throw out something like, 90% of serotonin comes from your gut. Now we all know this. And I'm sitting here going, I didn't know this. This is, so you all can't see my face. I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, there's a lot I don't know, but I really do believe in that gut, that heart, that mind connection. I talk about that in some of the other content that we have out there. So I love some of what you're saying. I especially love, you said, hey, I personalized. But I feel like you really go above and beyond. I mean, that whole grocery store, walking around with people, being available. I've got a question, I think, for our listeners out there. They're not all local. I mean, especially now in COVID, are you able to do things like that virtually for people? Are you able to kind of make this work virtually? I know you started your business back in 2019, and so you've been dealing with this whole environment all year long. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it was not the most ideal time to start a business as a global pandemic was about to arise. However, I feel like I just like to focus on the positives, and a lot of good came out of it. I now have a platform online. So for people, I of course love seeing people face to face. But if somebody, doesn't feel comfortable at this time, or if somebody's just not in this area, I mean, I've had a client that I've been talking to in Australia. Like, it's just this shift, it was hard at first because I'm not the best with technology. But shifting to more of an online platform has benefited me and my business so much. And almost everything we're able to replicate. The only thing would be that grocery store tour is a bit hard. However, that's why I started putting videos on my Instagram, and like when I come home from the grocery store, I kind of just like show people what I've got. And then also, if you were to be in my program, you would get a list of foods that I have specifically recommend or approved from your market, or all sorts of markets that you could probably go find yourself.
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, and so true, Doc. The pivot, moving online, finding a way to do it. So even though it can be difficult for you to do it virtually, you've done the pre-work for people. You've got a grocery store near you. Chances are you've gone ahead and you've vetted out the products by brand name, it sounds like. So you're actually giving people the specific foods that are going to be good for them.
Yeah, no sponsorships. I know. It's just, I'm so, I guess, so passionate about the ingredients, and it's just very difficult because I know that the marketing for products can be very misleading. And you look at a box of cereal and it says whole grain and enriched and this vitamin, and it looks healthy, but don't be fooled by some of these brands. So, that time during COVID when we were, all in lockdown, I really took the time to do the research and put the work in. So when people go out back grocery shopping, then they're able to do it quickly and with specific recommendations.
So I was listening or watching Jessica on Instagram on one of her videos the other day, and it was something from Trader Joe's, and I don't remember what the product was, but I saw, I'm like, oh, I love that product. And then she's going through it, and I'm like, oh, crap, I got to throw that product away now.
Yeah, I've actually thrown things in the trash can. I'm like, this I've had in my fridge. I don't know why, but this has palm oil in it or something like that. And I've just thrown it away, and people are like, you just crushed my soul.
But it's interesting to see because, a lot of what we talk about is the science behind it and something that is proven. But we're also big into sales, and we kind of understand marketing. And it's a big thing that we promote. And it's something that you see that's such the trickiness that comes with it, is because these companies that are trying to sell on something that's gaining traction, which is nutrition and whole foods and all those wonderful things you just mentioned, and then they throw those categories there to make it sound like it is. And most people aren't taking the time to do any further research past that. So they're just saying, oh, it's right in the center shelf, right in my eye level. It says healthy. I got to buy it. My mom does that all the time to me. She's like, but it says healthy on it.
Well, yes, it's a multi-billion-dollar market. And I mean, even going beyond the food, talking about the supplement industry, yes, I think supplements are great. And I do recommend supplements when needed. However, the supplement industry is not regulated. So it's really important, even if they are all natural, it's very important to consult nutritionist or a dietitian about what you're going to be taking, because all natural things can also have a harmful effect on you and can also have harmful effects, have harmful ingredients in them. Like, I've seen vitamin gummies and the first ingredient is high fructose corn syrup. Like, it's it's very important to be able to understand those things and understand where you need to involve a professional.
Can you talk a little bit about
So I love this topic.
that was a good aside. That's the beauty of being live. I was just going to ask if you can talk a little bit about, I know you do some blood work with the people that you work with and some of the importance behind that and what you gain from that.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I offer various different types of nutritional testing. The first one is microbiome testing. So it's actually a stool sample. These are all take-home tests, but you could actually find out what kinds of bacteria populate your gut microbiome. You can find out if there's anything bad going on in there, especially if you're having any negative GI symptoms. And it could even, come in the form of fatigue or headaches or joint pain or all these different types of, negative symptoms. It could be coming from your gut. So along with that, it also creates the test results also create a personalized probiotic. So also, again, with personalized nutrition, it's important to have a very diverse population of good bacteria. So whatever ones that you're lacking, the testing company will actually provide you with a personalized probiotic to help re-inoculate. As well as microbiome testing, I also do genetic testing. So we know that genes play a huge impact on nutrition. And there's a couple of genes that can dictate, whether you're going to be utilizing carbohydrates more than fat, all those other types of things like that. So it's important to know your genes, and that could also be a clue in if you're not, if dieting hasn't been working for you or if other things haven't been working for you. I also do hormonal testing. Hormones play a huge role in our overall health, as you know. And, it's much more common than you might think to have a hormonal disorder. And along with that, I do food sensitivity testing and food allergy testing. So even if you don't have a food allergy, you could have an inflammatory response to some foods. And it could be even healthy foods. I mean, I've had clients that have a whole list of, they've realized that they're allergic to eggplants and tomatoes and lettuce and things like that, or not allergic, I'm sorry, sensitive to. So if you're experiencing bloating, any like uncomfortable GI symptoms, that could be a clue that you're dealing with a food sensitivity. So those are pretty much the main tests that I do, because I mainly deal with people who are suffering from GI disorders, autoimmune disorders, which also can occur with the stomach, and chronic disease.
Excellent. That's what I like about it, is, again, it gives you some strong evidence to plan for what you're doing.
Yeah, and
You weren't kidding around when you said. No, please go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, nutrition is trial and error, and you have to just be humble and understand that not everybody's the same, and you might not get it right the first time, but it's not just with me, it's not just with the food. And this is what I learned even back when I was dealing with my own health issues. It's everything. It's what you're eating, but it's also, it could be your genetics. It could be the way you sleep, your exercise, your hormones. It could be environmental toxins. And also it could be, mental health, and mindful eating is very important. A lot of people with mindful eating, basically it's just the act of being more aware when you're eating. So a lot of people have just become out of touch with the actual process of eating, because digestion starts when you're smelling the food, when you're tasting the food, like all of those senses combine. And that's what really starts that enzymatic process in your body. And a lot of us, and I'm guilty of this too, have started eating in front of the desk while at work, or eating in front of the TV or in the car, or just not totally immersed in the act of eating. And that can cause a lot of that really disrupts that signal that we talked about before, the gut brain signal, because that signal that tells that your brain that your stomach is full, you might not get that until 20 minutes or more after you're eating. So, and if you're not mindful about how you're eating, then you might just overeat and not even get that signal. So that's also very important.
So
I'm guilty of that.
We all are.
This sounds, tastes, and feels like so much more than just nutrition. I mean, you talk about all these testing, genetic testing, hormonal testing, food sensitivity testing, microbiome testing. I mean, this really, it is all interrelated, whether it's mental health, physical health, just a personal performance and getting better and healthier. It's all intertwined, and it makes sense. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. I want to ask you about something that's come to my attention recently that maybe some of our listeners might be interested in. There's a big movement towards more is better almost. And you see that with supplements, for example. Oh, take 600 milligrams of this or 800 of this or that, but it's not really the case a lot of times, is it? I mean, do you have an opinion on what we're seeing there? I would imagine from your perspective, where everything you're doing is personalized, it's almost like it's got to be a little cringy to see people doing this. Oh, just do more.
Yeah, no, I talk about simple nutrition. And that's huge because a lot of people, I've noticed that the barriers are just thinking that, they need to do more and more, like you just said, and it's just not possible to fit that in their lifestyle. And it's not possible to implement all of these things just at once. And that's the problem also with diets that end. It's basically just implementing a bunch of different things just all at once. And it's just not possible to maintain like a whole new lifestyle. And it starts January 1st. Like I guarantee so many people are going to do something like that. It really is just about the little things that you do every day that are consistent. Those little habits that you put in place that are consistent, those are the ones that you're going to see changes. And, it's nutrition shouldn't be like a juice cleanse or those sort of things where you lose 5 pounds in 1 week. People need to know that, making lasting changes is not going to happen in 1 week or 1 month. It happens over time. And it's not just like losing weight rapidly is going to keep all of the weight off. You have to change all of those signals in your brain. There's so many things that have to physiologically change in your body for those lasting effects to happen.
I think something important there too for our listeners, because we might have some that are in great shape. It's not even just about the weight, right? I think it's about the lifestyle and getting healthy and having that great gut-brain connection, because that's going to have an effect in your work life, your home life, your exercise life. I mean, every kind of anything you're attached to.
Yeah, and nutrition is so closely related to immunity. And I know we're all sick of talking about immunity, but we learned how important our health is this year. It's what we got. And you should try and defend your immune system as much as you possibly can. Not to say that only a healthy diet will prevent you from getting, COVID-19. But we're seeing that Americans are dealing with a lot of inflammatory disorders. This doesn't mean that this is not overweight people. We have a lot of underlying conditions because of our diet here in the US. It's out of control, and food directly impacts our immune system through our microbiome. So I would just encourage, even if you are in great shape, I just think everyone can learn a little bit more about nutrition.
An eye-opening for me, and I don't consider myself in bad shape by any means, but it's something I actively look at. I kind of ask myself the question, how much is good decision-making worth to me? What price am I willing to pay to be in a better mood, to see better results, to make better decisions? And quite a bit for me personally, being able to improve upon myself, life's a life, it's a journey. And we all start somewhere, but I like to think that we all want to end up somewhere better. And this is a big piece of it. So it's, if it's recognizing that, wow, if I want to see results over here, well, maybe it does start with my diet and my nutrition and my health. If I want to see better decision-making and better moods and able to be more consistent in the things that I do. And as an entrepreneur and a business owner, I absolutely am always looking for anything to make my life easier. And it's an amazing thing. I want to make my life easier. I got to focus on this stuff. We just can't afford to ignore it. And we're seeing the results and the consequences of people who do ignore their nutrition. And we see it just in medical costs alone over our lives. And if you're a small business owner, you know exactly what that feels like dealing with medical costs. It's insane.
Yeah. And we just don't want to worry about, we just don't want to be worried about our health when it's too late. Food has very, very powerful phytochemicals or nutrients in them that can help prevent disease. And why not just, it's not even that we want to live longer, but we want to live a longer, more quality life. And I really like this quote by Mark Hyman. He says, every bite you take is an opportunity to either create health or promote disease. Which kind will you allow in your body? The choice is yours to make. And I just think that's very powerful because it just shows that nutrition plays such a huge role in our health, our mental health, our physical health. And it's not something that we can ignore.
That is a good quote. And I was going to throw one at you as well. In the financial services world, we have a quote. Most people spend all of their health trying to generate wealth, and then they end up spending all their wealth trying to get back their health. And everything we're talking about today is, well, let's not give up our health. Let's use that to go ahead and put ourselves in a better position. So you've got a couple offers and packages that you have available for people today, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that, Jess?
Yeah, sure. So I offer one-on-one counseling in 4 sessions and 8 sessions. And then I also offer subscription packages. So these are monthly, and it would depend on, what you need. But today I want to offer, just for JB and the doctors, an exclusive promotion for my 4 and 8 session packages for 25% off.
What?
Yeah. So
Nice.
that's your Cyber Monday deal, and also a free grocery store tour. So that is that is what I think extremely valuable. And I really hope that some of you take advantage of this promotion, because I will go above and beyond, and I will make a personalized plan that'll fit your needs.
And if you're listening as this comes out, it's before the new year. So I know Jessica talked about everyone's going to be January 1st all excited and make these resolutions that aren't, we'll have a whole other episode about resolutions, believe me. But when you're working on your goals for next year, this is what you kind of want to look at. So we're going to 86 the word resolutions and bring in goals. And I think that deal Jessica just said is going to be amazing for anyone that's trying to get there.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. You and I are going to connect on this stuff, Jessica, anyways. So you've got my promotion on this. I absolutely love it. I think this is fantastic information and details. And for all our listeners out there, I hope you're taking as many notes as I am, because there's just so much great material here.
And if you didn't, you can always hit rewind on the episode and listen to it again and then write the notes.
Yeah, if you're driving, don't take notes. But otherwise, I hope you were taking notes.
I'm a problem solver.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Jessica, that's the best way for everyone to contact you to take advantage of these wonderful offers.
So you can visit my website. My website is www.nextgeneration-nutrition.com. Also, you can find me on Instagram at nextgenerationnutrition_, and my email is info@nextgeneration-nutrition.com.
So all that stuff will also be in our show notes. So again, if you're driving and didn't have time to write all that down, just check out the show notes. We'll get you covered.
Well, thank you so much. This
Jessica,
is really fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We hope to have you again down the road. There's a whole lot more to dig into on this topic, and you've just been splendid. So thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for the invite. I'd love to come back. And yeah, we just brushed on the surface. So next time we can go more in depth.
Look forward to that.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, I think that's the end of our show for today. I'm JB.
I'm the doctor.
We'll sell you later.
Peace out, yo.